We are back with our Women in Tech series. Today I am with Jeria Quesenberry. I'm very excited to kind of get to know some of your background, another great person in the tech industry. Jeria, if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and kicking us off with a little bit of your background and kind of how started your current role teaching information systems at Carnegie Mellon.
Great. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm excited to talk about technology and women in technology. I'm a teaching professor of information systems and the associate dean of faculty at Carnegie Mellon University, which is a really wonderful institution in Western Pennsylvania. I've been in this role for about 15 years. Prior to starting my position in academia, I also went to grad school and I worked in the technology industry doing some technical consulting work.
Awesome. What made you first interested in the technology industry?
Well, when I went to college back in the 1990s, believe it or not, there wasn't a whole lot of technology. Not everyone had a computer. Smartphones didn't exist at the time. But growing up, my father had worked in technology. And so we were always kind of an early adopter family. And when I got to college, I found my roommates and my classmates, they didn't know how to work a word processor or how to check their email. And I spent a lot of time teaching them how to use these different tools. And I enjoyed helping people learn to work with technology and all the benefits that come from that. So I decided to pursue a career where I could really help people find ways in which technology can make them more productive, keep them connected with their friends and family. And this path just sort of worked out with regard to that.
Awesome. And isn't that funny? Back in the 1990s, and as you said, like internet and the tech scene wasn't where it is today. And looking back, aren't you glad that you went into this field? Because I mean, it grew that much in 20 years. Imagine the next 20. It's really interesting day to day. And so I've learned technology is ever changing. So how does that look in the classroom? We're constantly adapting, new technologies coming out, the innovation crazy. So how does that look in the classroom? Change your coursework? I'm interested to hear about.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a great question and so true. Technology is always changing. And so in the classes I teach, I try really hard to keep it dynamic and fresh and up to date. And what may be appropriate 2 years ago is outdated today. So it takes some time keeping the material fresh, but I love to explore and learn and try new things. And so it's really exciting to have a career where you're given time, you're paid to teach yourself more and to learn more. So it's never repetitive, it's never boring, it's always really exciting. And to be at a university with such talented students, I learn a lot from them too. And a lot of the work that we do in the classroom is collaborative. So I'll learn and explore with my students, and we can co-learn together. So it's a really fun topic.
Awesome. Cool. So when you're doing this resource or your research, what type of resources do you normally lean on? Or back when you were first entering the tech scene, what were you going to any workshops or any community opportunities, that type of thing? Are there resources out there that someone who is interested in tech should kind of start getting in?
So when I first started in tech back in the 90s, there were not a lot of resources, unfortunately. And so it was hard to connect and network with others and find good tutorials or ways in which you could learn about opportunities or even just the technology itself. But that very much is different today. I think probably the opposite is the case, in that there are so many resources. Some places that have been really, really wonderful resources that I utilize pretty regularly. One is NC Wit. They have a wonderful website online with lots of background information about technology careers and ways in which women can get involved with technology. I've worked locally here with a chapter called Red Chair Pittsburgh. Red Chair is a national movement to encourage more women in technology, and they do have local chapters throughout the country. So that's been a great resource. And then there are many different groups online like code.org and Girls Who Code. Those are all great places for people who might be interested in learning about tech careers or learning more about technology itself.
Awesome. I haven't heard of those, so I'll definitely look into that, and I'll make sure that we have them linked when we promote the series. That way people have that resource there to check out as well. That's awesome. And while we're on the resource topic, I want to dive a little bit into your publications. I took a look on, to get some background, and I'm just really impressed, and I'm super excited prior to the series or prior to this interview, because it seems like you're super passionate about getting women in tech as well. Do you have a favorite publication that you have written?
Oh, so, yeah, I'm super passionate about women in computing. All the publications have been super fun to work on and write. Probably my favorite is a book I published with Carol Fries a few years ago called Kicking Butt in Computer Science. It's the story of women in computing at Carnegie Mellon. And so it's something that's really near and dear to my heart. The title of that book actually was a quote from one of our female students in one of her interviews. And so I would probably put that as my favorite, just because I think it was really important to the day-to-day work I do, but also put a nice voice, carried forward the voice of our students.
Awesome. No, that's awesome. And I'll have, again, I'll have that link too, just in case people want to check them out. I definitely want to check out a few of these. I'm interested just from how computer science at Carnegie Mellon University is attracting and retaining women. That is another question that I have. So you're right there, you're, on foot talking to these students. Have you noticed more women enrolling in the computer science major since being there and teaching?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Carnegie Mellon University has had really great success recruiting and retaining women in our technical programs. So the book I mentioned tells the story of the School of Computer Science. I'm in an information systems program, and all of these programs have had really, really great success. I think it's for a couple of reasons. One, the university works very hard to tell the story of opportunities and find ways in which we can connect with women in high school and hopefully encourage them to apply to the programs. And then once they're here, I think that they find that the coursework, the projects that they can work on are all really energetic and exciting. And so that tends to keep them. So
Awesome. And that would be a question is, you guys are doing so well. What's a couple things that let me back a little bit. I guess, does it look different in your opinion from a school's point of view to make that career attractive versus what should businesses be doing to make it more attractive? It sounds like you guys are doing a great job. It's how can we get more businesses and more schools to be doing what you guys are doing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really good question as well. A harder question to answer because there are so many pieces to the puzzle. I think what organizations specifically can do is broaden their search, reach out to women, maybe women who are already in industry who might be thinking about a career change, perhaps women who are in college studying a technical degree or perhaps a degree that is related or could be relevant. But then once they're in their positions and they're at their organizations, offer them opportunities for upward mobility, pay them, equal salaries, find ways to encourage and support them in their careers.
So, what is it like being a woman working, teaching in computer science, information technology, that type of thing? What is it like? Do you have other women professors that also teach? Do you guys, hang out with each other, use each other as a support system? How does that look like for you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in my program, we have pretty equal balance between male and female students and almost equal balance amongst our faculty. So I have several female colleagues that I network with professionally. We collaborate and write together. Sometimes we just grab a cup of coffee and catch up. And my male faculty are great as well, too. We actually have a diversity, equity, and inclusion committee where a small group of us come together every week and we talk about DEI topics, and then we find ways in which we can build out programs or offer opportunities to attend conferences for our students. And so it's really fun to have these coworkers that I can connect with on a personal level, but then also collaborate with to make some cool things happen for our students.
Yeah, awesome. That's great. And that's one thing that talking with other women leaders and just my experience now coming up on 1 year in this tech industry, leaning on other people's, their knowledge, always learn something new every day. Again, going back to that technology, how it's adapting and changing every day, having a support system. I think that that's helped me feel more comfortable in the tech world. So that's awesome that you guys, it seems like you have one over there. So I only have a couple more questions for you. I know you're super busy. Looking back, what is one thing you wish you knew when you first started in this?
One thing I wish I knew when I first started in the technology field is that I would be working with all different types of people, technology people, non-technology people, business-oriented people, non-business oriented people. It definitely is an industry where it brings together a lot of different type of people. And so finding common ground and ways in which you can collaborate together and sort of speak the same language, if you will. I didn't necessarily anticipate that going into it. I thought I'd be working with all technologists.
Right.
That hasn't been the case. It's been much more dynamic, which is
Yeah, it's awesome to see how many industries technology touches, how realizing, how close we are to technology in our day-to-day life. So yeah, it's awesome. My mind is blown every time I talk about technology, because you could go on and on about the industry. It's awesome. All right. What is one piece of advice you would give to a young girl in elementary school, middle school, or even high school that is on the fence about, trying out the tech industry?
So I have a daughter who's 10, and I hope one day she'll love technology as much as I do. The advice I give to her is find ways in which you can use technology to support what you love. In her case, she really likes designing structures and playing with Legos and that sort of thing. So she's a big fan of like Roblox and Minecraft. But what I would say to maybe older girls in middle school or high school is identify your passion, and then there's always a place where technology can help support that. So it could be things like Lego League, but it might be building a website for your dance team or your soccer team, or helping within your local community groups and churches to create some type of information system that helps that group succeed. So there's always ways in which technology can support and help solve problems. And so finding what's of interest and then using it to do that, I think, is really exciting.
I love that you say that, because at Peace Solutions, that's one of our things. It's all about solving problems. It's like a big puzzle. How can we make it more efficient? Or you have a data error. How can we fix that? Solving problems and going off a little bit, but finding a passion, and how can we use technology? Before getting into this, I love art. I love the arts and all of that. And I didn't really think, graphic design right off, and web design, that type of thing. And I think showing that in schools could help, attract more women. It's, not like you said, it's kind of marketing it as, what's your passion? Let's work off of that. And how can we use that? I love that you say that. That's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm an animal lover, and I've worked with local humane societies to help them build websites or help them build application systems for families who want to foster pets. And so it's like, never did I think I would be able to help animals using my technology skills, but you can, and
Right.
it's really, really cool. So
Awesome.
I'm excited to be in this career.
Yeah, great. What would be the most fulfilling part of your career this far, you say?
Oh my goodness. There's so many things I could say. I'm not quite sure where to start. I mean, definitely the most fulfilling part of my career is working with students. It's so exciting to see them come in at the beginning of their college career and then to graduate and see everything they've learned, and then to still keep in touch with them 5, 10, 15 years later, and see where they've ended up. So building those relationships with students is definitely the most impactful, important part of it. The other thing that I really enjoy, though, is feeling like I'm making a difference. Trying to think about problems, even if they're just like micro small problems, like how do you make this website more efficient, or even bigger challenges, like how do we attract more women to computing? Being able to contribute to the greater good is pretty cool.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, and as a teacher, as a professor, you're teaching the next generation. Like that is awesome, and to have that hands-on, and like you said, learning from them as well. I in another life, I would love to be teacher, and maybe who knows, maybe down the line. But that's
Yeah.
awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. Do you have any last comment that you would like to leave with the potential students that will be watching?
Oh, I would just say to the potential students, it's such an exciting time to be in technology. Really, the sky's the limit. There's so much opportunity here. And so if you have even just the smallest interest or perhaps no interest at all, experiment and explore, because I think there's a lot of rewards that can be found.
Great. Thank you so much, Jeria. I really appreciate your time. These interviews are associated with the PS Solutions Foundation. It was founded back in 2012. We're on a mission to help spread awareness and share the resources to get more young girls interested in tech. So I really appreciate your time, and I really think that they'll love watching this interview. So I appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate all the
Yeah.
work that you're doing. It's really
Yeah.
so thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll have to stay connected. I'll definitely check out some of your books. I would love to dive into that. So we'll be connected in the future for sure.